Hello everyone, hey RG back with some more Franchise Hockey Manager 9, and today we are having some more Hartford Whalers action in 1981. So the 1980-1981 season is about to be over. We are 1 month and then some change away from the playoffs, and today we are going to be going through the trade deadline. So we're going to go ahead and see if anything can happen. Now, something already happened as far as the Hartford Whalers are concerned. You might see on the screen that, I made a trade with Edmonton. So you may be over there and be like, oh my god, ARG did it. He went and got Wayne Gretzky after, getting Glenn Anderson, Paul Coffey, and Mark Messier away. But no, that would cost way too much. I did make a trade though that I feel like is going to be beneficial for me in the future. Well, let's face it, very rarely do you make a trade where you hope that you're going to be losing the trade, right? So, but yeah, so I had exactly one piece that I wanted to trade that I felt that maybe could be seen as having some form of value. It was our good old friend Al Smith, the goaltender, that I do not need anymore. He still had two and a half stars. And I felt that maybe he could get us something, and exactly 7 teams were interested in Al Smith when I shopped him. I didn't go out of my way to try to make a trade. I just used the shop function. I do that sometimes, and I wasn't offered a whole lot. Now, notably, the Bruins offered me good old Jerry Cheevers for Al Smith, and while it would have been cool for the cool factor to get Jerry Cheevers on the Whalers, I mean, he's 40 by now, so that was not a trade I was interested in. So then I was offered up some more washed up veterans that, I had absolutely no interest in. And then the very last offer that was in my messages was from Edmonton, and they were offering me this guy here, Craig Laughlin. Now, Craig Laughlin, he's already 23. He's an alpha star, but he has a star and a half talent. The reason that I got him is that in real life, Craig Laughlin kind of was a little bit of a late bloomer, so I'm hoping that maybe the same thing is going to happen to him in my save. If you go and look at his stats in real life, he had a 75-point season. He was a point per game for one season, which was in 85-86, so that's, a little ways from here. But he also had 3 other seasons where he had at least 50 points. So to me, that's kind of interesting, and that's kind of why I got him. Now, is he going to play in a top six situation? I don't think so, but on the third line, I think that he would fit very beautifully next to a guy like Brent Sutter, for example, in the future. So that was a guy that I wanted to get when I saw him, because he does have some upside maybe for the future. He's just not there yet. Is he going to get there? I don't know. But I thought it was definitely worth it. For Al Smith, an aging goaltender that I wasn't going to use anymore, I thought it was a pretty decent trade. That's the only trade I made. I literally do not have anything else that has value that I'm willing to, part ways with. So our trade deadline is probably going to be our trade deadline is probably going to be very quiet. I do have a few guys on the block, but they're like half-star players, so I don't expect to see a whole lot coming from there. All right, so with all that being said and done, we are 8th in the conference, struggling a little bit in that department. We're not placing very well. I was hoping for a good month of February. That did not happen, so now we're not looking all that all that hot. We also have quite a few injuries, although a lot of them are day-to-day. So quite a few of our guys are hurt right now, notably a lot of defensemen. So that's something to keep an eye on. But we're good for now. I did check, and Mark Renault can play hurt, and he will do so. I will force the computer to do that. Oops. Oh, I guess I can't. Yeah, that's the trade there. I guess I can go ahead and delete that. And yeah, that's going to be March. So there's going to be the trade deadline. And then that's really kind of the last stretch to position ourselves for the playoffs. So are we going to be able to put ourselves in a good spot? We have a lot of work to do if we want to do that. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think we're going to be kind of last year, making the playoffs as one of the last teams to seed, and then I guess we'll see who we seed against and take it from there. I'm expecting that next season we're going to start to look a little bit better. I'm not saying we're going to be first in the conference, but I'm expecting for us to be maybe where the Nordiques or the Maple Leafs are. So I'm expecting for us to be a little bit more around the middle of the conference. Alright, so that's a lot of talking, and well, there's going to be a lot more of that, but let's get to things here. So busy month of March ahead of us, which starts on the road, a little bit on the west coast there. We're going to be playing in Vancouver to play against the Canucks to get this stream started. The Canucks are not doing too hot. Actually, they have a very similar record to ours. They are 23, 34, and 7. And we are 2-1 against the Canucks this season, so we did beat them twice. Alright, let's see if we can beat them today. Alright, so Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for the Waiters, Glenn Hanlon is going to be in net for Vancouver, and let's start this stream with a W, and that means go Waiters, go! And we got a tie, a 3-3 tie. Now that's a game that we should have had, so that kind of sucks to tie, but it is what it is. So a 3-3 tie here in Vancouver. We were outshot 31-22. Graydon was the first star of the game, he had a goal. Wilf Payment was the second star with 2 assists, and Rick Vive was the third star with a goal and an assist. Vancouver scored first in the first period, then Jordy Douglas tied the game unassisted. It was 1-1, and then Mark Messier scored from Wilf Payment and Darren Veitch. We had a 2-1 lead here after 1. The second period, the Canucks tied the game, and it was tied at 2 heading into the third period, where Rob Ramage scored on the power play to give us the lead again from Rick Aduano and Wilf Payment. It was 3-2, but with 7 minutes and 2 seconds left to go in the third period, Vancouver scored, and that was a 3-3 game, and it ended that way. Alright, so a tie to start the month of March. Alright, so Jim Gustafson has been put on waivers by the Blues, and Vic Vanaski by the Islanders. Good game for Brad Park with the Bruins. He had a hat-trick against the Sabres. Passes on point for Bob Murray with Chicago. He had 4 assists against the Blues. Larry Robinson's point streak ended at 13 games. He was held scoreless against the Rangers. On our confidence update, let's see. Satisfied, rebuilding process, okay, taking a longer view, not expecting to be a serious contender, fans aren't thrilled, things could be better, but we're not at a stage where we need to look at replacing you yet. Alright, so pretty much the same message that we get every month. Mike Rogers is feeling better, that's good. Craig Laughlin signed his extension, so yeah, I got Craig Laughlin from Edmonton, and he was on an expiring contract. I'm extending him. Pittsburgh is trying to trade Brian Spencer. John Stewart in Quebec is on the block as well, and then there's been a trade between the Islanders and the Kings. Oh, Vic Vanaski for Dwayne Loudermilk. Alright, so Vic Vanaski was acquired by the Islanders and put immediately on waivers for Dwayne Loudermilk. That's a strange last name to me. Alright, we have a day off, and then we're going to be in Colorado to play the Rockies. Coach reports on new players. So Randy Kennyworth and Denis Sear feeling better. Mark Reno is completely recovered. That's good. Mike Rogers getting better. Jay Wells getting better. John Wensink has been put on the block by Buffalo. Harvey Bennett on the block from the Nordiques. There was a trade between Winnipeg and Toronto. Peter Marsh is going to Toronto for a 4th round draft pick. Okay. Then we have a trade proposal from the Rangers. They are offering me Lance Nethery for Nick Fotiu. Let's take a look at Lance Nethery. Okay, he's 23. He's a few points away from being able to play in the NHL. He did play a little bit in real life. Oh wow, he was almost a point per game in his first year. But then he fizzled out very quickly. For Nick Fotiu. Nick Fotiu does play in the NHL, so that means that I would need to recall somebody. That's fine. Am I making this trade? I think I am. Let's take a shot on Lance Nethery. Alright. I'm gonna send Nethery down to... He's not the one that I'm gonna have in the NHL right now. Let's take a look at whom it is going to be. Oh wait, can it be Mike Rogers? No, I need to wait one more day before I do that. Okay, alright. Alright, who are we going to recall? Of course, I could get my other tough guy in the lineup, Jeff Brubaker. So I'm just looking at different players, looking at their stats. I'm trying to figure out whom I'm gonna get up. Actually, I think it's gonna be Brubaker. He's the one with the most points. Let's call him up. Let's reward him. He's probably not gonna stay up very long. Mike Rogers is about to come back anyway, so let's give him a nudge. All right, so we are in Colorado to play the Rockies. They are 17-40-6, really struggling over there in Colorado. We are 2-1 against them this season. Let's get a W here. I feel like a W would feel good. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Wayne Stevenson in net for the Blues. And of course, go Waiters, go. Oh, we lost 5-4. Felt like that was a game we should have had. Oh yeah, we outshot Colorado 38-29. First star of the game was Denis Savard with 2 assists. Paul Coffey was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Auger was the third star, sorry, with a goal. Rockies scored 3 goals in the first period. It was 3-0 Colorado after our old friend Charlie Summer with 2 points in the first period. Then in the second period, Jordy Douglas scored his 20th of the season from Rick Aduano and Paul Coffey. Then Greg Carroll scored from Chuck Lefley and Rob Ramage. 3-2 Colorado at that point. Colorado added a goal to make it 4-2, but we came back to within one. Wilf Payment scored from Jordy Douglas and Rob Ramage. 4-3 Colorado after 2. We had a fight between Barry Beck and Jeff Brubaker. Then in the third period, Colorado scored to get a 2-goal lead back, and then Paul Coffey scored on the power play less than a minute later from Rick Aduano and Wilf Payment. It was 5-4. Unfortunately, that stayed at that score and we lost. There was also a fight between our old pal Al Sims and Jeff Brubaker. So, former teammates getting to face punch each other just for good old times' sake. Right, so John Gould has been put on waivers, as well as Dan Maloney. Clark Gillies extends his point streak to 12 games. He had a goal against the Oilers. Mike Antonovich has a strong game for the Blues. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Bruins. Anders Edberg extends his point streak to 15 games in Calgary. He had a goal against the Washington Capitals. Gordy Roberts fitting better. Denis Sobchak has been put on the block. There's been a trade between the Kings and the Rangers. Gord Smith for Larry Goodenough. And then we have a trade proposal from the Islanders. They are offering me Gilles Lupien for Gary Doak. I mean, Gilles Lupien is younger. Gary Doak is still playing on my NHL team, though. And Gilles Lupien can barely play as it is. Yeah, okay. So we're seeing him better than he is. I'm not going to make that trade. I'd rather have Gary Doak for the playoffs and then lose him for nothing. Which says a lot. Alright, we have 2 days off and then we're going to be in Buffalo against the Sabres. Anders Edberg's point streak ended at 15 games. He was held scoreless against the Buffalo Sabres. Ted Bully in Chicago is suspended. He's going to miss 3 games. Bobby Crum is trying to save his job. Okay, so he's about to lose his job. He's the coach for Detroit. Glenn Sharpley's assist streak ended at 9 games. He was held scoreless against the Bruins. Guy Chouinard set everything up tonight. He had 4 assists against the Oilers. Gordy Roberts fitting better. Jay Wells fitting better. Denis Auchar has been put on the block by Colorado. And then there's been a trade between the LA Kings and the Sabres. Dean Hopkins goes to the Sabres. And Bill Stewart goes to the Kings. Very small trade. One more day off here. Oh, and that's also going to be the last day. That's the trade deadline. And we have 3 trade proposals. Ooh, there's been quite a big trade between the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens as I see it. Alright, let's get to things in order here. So suspension for Bob Lorimer in Winnipeg. He's going to miss 4 games. Gordy Roberts almost ready. Jay Wells is ready. Don Larway has been put on the block. And then, yeah, Guy Lapointe goes to Toronto for Laurie Boschman. Now, Laurie Boschman is a youngster at this point. He's 20 years old. So, for Guy Lapointe, so I would say it's a fairly big trade. I mean, it's not superstars, but it's pretty decent players that got traded. And now we have 3 trade proposals, so I need to check all of them before I accept, in case that they are for the same player. So I need to pick the best offer, if that's the case. Right, so Boston still after down LC, they are offering me Mark Uglan for him. Let's see, what did you do in real life? Nothing. Right, Rangers won Brian Baltimore. They are offering me Dave Silk. Okay, that I might maybe do. Okay, he's 23. He's very close to be able to play in the NHL. He did play in the NHL in real life for a little bit, so I think he might make it. So I might make that trade. And then let's see what the Maple Leafs want. They want Gary Doe for Bob Gladney. Okay, Gladney did not play much in real life. So what do I want to do here? Alright, that I'm just gonna say no, I think. He's too far off. Well, what do I have to lose? I'm losing down Alcy. Anyway. Hey, welcome aboard, Ritu Z2. I hope I said that right. I don't have much to lose. If anything, I mean, I'm just gonna get rid of that guy. Oh, well, I do have one thing. Hello. I do have one thing to lose. It's a contract slot. I'm pretty good. What about you? I am doing fine, actually. You know what? I'm gonna reject that. At this point, the contract slot is more valuable than this guy, so I'm gonna go ahead and reject that. And I think I'm gonna have the same mindset here for all of those trade offers. Oh. Well, welcome aboard. So I do stream this usually about 3 times a week. I'm playing back in the 1980s as the Hartford Whalers. I have some self-imposed challenges for this run. Hopefully I'm going to be able to satisfy them. Yeah, all right. I'll if you sent me a follow, I'll take a look at that after the stream here. All right, so it is the trade deadline. So I did not make any of the trades. Maybe that Silk guy I should have made the trade for, but again, I think I'm gonna keep. I need some roster spots, contract spots. I'm at 50 out of 50. Alright, so we are in Buffalo today. We are going to be playing against the Sabres, of course. Buffalo is 36-21-7. That's good for 3rd in the conference, so they are doing pretty good. We are 2-1 against Buffalo, so it's a team we've been doing pretty good against this season. So let's see if we can beat them again. That would be beautiful. Oh, wait, I have Jay Wells that can come back, don't I? Sure do. Come back to me. I do not right now. I'm very small. I'm a baby streamer. All right, so Jay Wells is back. I'm going to send Mark Renault down, I believe. All right, let's beat the Sabres now, shall we? Alright, so Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for us. Goran Augusta is going to be in net for Buffalo. Of course, I would love to get a Whaley W. Yeah, that is correct. Oh, I don't know what it is, but we have the Sabres number this season. A nice 6-2 victory in Buffalo. Ah, no, I'm good for now, man. If I want to get serious about it, I have somebody that can do that for me. But thank you, though. Alright, so we have a 6-2 victory here in Buffalo. Buffalo did outshoot us 37-35 in that one. Mark Messier was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and 2 assists. Paul Coffey was the second star with 2 assists, and Chuck Liffley was the third star with 2 goals. Chuck Liffley opened up the scoring in the first from Mark Messier and Jay Wells. It was 1-0 Hartford after 1. Then we had a fight between Dean Hopkins and Wilf Payment, and a lot of goals were scored in the second period. Buffalo tied the game, and then we scored 3 goals. Bo Berglund, wow, we haven't seen his name in a while, scored from Mark Messier and Paul Coffey, then Mark Messier from Paul Coffey, and then Mark Messier again on the power play from Wilf Payment and Gordy Roberts, 4-1 Hartford at that point. Then Buffalo scored, it was 4-2, and then Bob Stevenson scored unassisted, made it a 5-2 lead here after 2. And then in the third period, Chuck Liffley scored unassisted, made it 6-2. And then there was a fight between Jim Schoenfeld and Paul Coffey. And that was a nice 6-2 victory for the Whalers here. Oh, looks like there's been a lot of trades on the last day here, which means that there's a lot of waivers. I'm going to look at the waivers. I cannot claim anybody. I don't have any roster spots or contract spots. So Wensick, Vasco, Serra, Dylan, Klutzy, Spencer, Thomas, Middlebrook, McIver, Smith, Lewis, and Burton. We're just gonna say their last names. Alright, let's take a look at all those news. It's gonna take us a minute. Alright, so Jack Valiquette has a good game for Colorado. He had a hat trick against the Kings. Gordy Roberts says all systems go. So he is completely recovered. Mike Rogers is also completely recovered. Then there was a trade between Calgary and Montreal. Bobby Gould goes to Montreal for Dave Orleski and Bill Root. So not the biggest trade. Then another trade from Montreal, this time with the Red Wings. Randy Ladouceur goes to the Canadiens for a 3rd round draft pick. Ooh. Alright, then Buffalo and New York Rangers made a trade. John Wensick for Mike McDougall. Not a big trade. Pittsburgh and Montreal. Rod Schott is going to Montreal for a 4th round draft pick. Then Pittsburgh and the Rangers. Brian Spencer for Wayne Thomas. Red Wings Rangers. Perimeter for Dean Talafus. Again, very small trades. Kings and Rangers, Dean Turner for Steve Rooney. Right, Boston and Detroit, Ralph Cox for Jerry Ryu. Another small trade. Detroit and Winnipeg, we have Frank Baith for Lindsay Middlebrook. Another fairly small trade. Jeff McDill for Jack O'Callaghan. Buffalo and Rangers. Bob Morgrain for Ray Markham. Another smallish trade. Oh, Lindy Ruff. Now, a little bit of a bigger name, of course. Lindy Ruff with his long coaching career, but he was kind of a agitator / tough guy back in the 80s, playing mostly for Buffalo as I remember it. So Lindy Ruff now with the Kings for Dave Gardner. And now Pittsburgh and Toronto also made a trade. Dale Lewis for Glenn Tomalti. Small trade. Winnipeg and Buffalo. David Fenives for Rick Bonus. Another small trade. Buffalo offered me this guy for Al Smith when I was shopping him. So Jets and Maple Leafs. Mark Curtin for Don McIver. Another smaller trade. Toronto, Detroit. Yuri Serra for Rob Plum. Buffalo and Rangers, Jim Walsh for Nelson Burton, another small trade. Rangers and Red Wings, Jim Malasdrur. That's even harder to pronounce than Wade the Bullwitz. Jim Malasdrwitz, I think is how it's pronounced for Tim Bothwell. No, I'm sorry for the I'm sure the very fine Malasdrwitz family, but yeah, I cannot pronounce that. It's a little difficult. Jim Johnson for Tim Bernard. Oh, Tim Bernard does have some potential. Garth McGigan for Larry Lozinski, another smallish trade. And finally, Frank Beaton for John Markell. Alright, so a lot of small trades at the trade deadline this year. Not a whole lot going on as far as bigger names. So I guess the bigger trade at the trade deadline was the Guy Lapointe for Laurie Boschman trade. Alright, we have a day off and then we're going to be hosting the Flames. Oh, we have Mike Rogers ready to come back first. Come back to me. Come back to me. And who are we sending down? Probably Dave Poulin, huh? No, Jeff Brubaker, that's true. There you go. We do not have an actual tough guy on the team. Well, we have tough guys. We don't have a goon on the team anymore, which is very unlikely to happen in real life 1980s hockey. But it is in this universe. We are doing it. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be any face punching. It just means that we don't really have a guy whose job is dedicated pretty much solely to do that. Ooh, Mike Bossy is day-to-day for the Islanders. They're lucky that it's not more severe than that. He's pretty much the best player in the league right now with Wayne Gretzky. Bob Bourne has a good game in that same game. He had a hat-trick against the Canucks. Clark Gillies extends his point streak to 13 games in that same game. And Stan Wire extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal against the Flyers. Now we're going to look at everybody that's on waivers. I'm not going to say all of their names. Nick Fotiu has been put on waivers after being acquired from us. So they're trying to move him down to the AHL. Bill Clement is also being sent down. Alright, so Calgary's in town. They are 35, 25, and 7. We are 1-2 against the Flames this season. We would love to go ahead and do better and win this game. Dang, I was hoping that with the injuries and everything that the computer would wisen up, but no, they're still putting Mark Messier on the wing. Come on, play him at center, man. Alright. Denis Héron's going to be in net for the Flames. Gilles Gilbert's going to be in net for us. And of course, go Withers, go. Let's get Hartford a win here at home. And it's a 2-2 tie against a good team, I suppose. I'll take it. We probably should have had that. We outshot them 34-24. Jay Wells was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Paul Reinhardt was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Gary Doak was the third star with an assist. We had 8,464 people in attendance for the game. Flames opened up the scoring in the first. Then Rick Aduano's tied game from Glenn Anderson and Jay Wells. It was 1-1 after 1. Then there was a fight between Bill Bennett and Dave Shand. Then in the second period, Bill Bennett scored from Brent Sutter and Gary Doak. It was 2-1 Hartford at that point. Then in the third period, the Flames tied the game really early in the period, but the 2-2 tie would remain. And Greg Carroll is injured, so we are going to take a look at that. Oh, he's just day-to-day. League watching Gretzky is day-to-day with a sore back. Alright. Sandwire extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal and an assist against Pittsburgh. And Neil Komadowski has served his suspension. He is back in the lineup in Toronto. I'll go ahead and advance one day, so we should be good. Bob Gainey is also day-to-day. He has nausea. Larry Robinson has a strong game. He had 4 assists against the Minnesota North Stars. Let's take a look here. Alright, so Greg Carroll cannot play, but I have other guys that can come in and play, so we're good. Alright, so we are now going to be playing 2 games in 2 nights, and we have Detroit on our plate, so we're going to be playing at the Joey Arena in Detroit. Detroit is struggling, 15, 38, and 12. That's good for dead last in the conference. We are 2-0-1 against the Red Wings this season. That means we have not lost against them so far. Let's keep it that way now, shall we? Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for us. Reggie Lemelin is going to be in net for Detroit. Go Whalers, go. A 4-2 win on the road for the Whalers. Nice little game here. We were outshot 37-26. Mark Messier was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Huber was the second star with a goal, and Wilf Payment was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. Alright, Rob Ramage opened up the scoring in the first from Mark Messier and Wilf Payment. Then Mark Messier from Bob Stevenson and Wilf Payment. It was 2-0, but then Detroit score made it a 2-1 Hartford after 1. Reed Larson got into a fight with Jay Wells. Then in the second period, Detroit tied a game. It was 2-2 heading into the third period. A few fights as well. Woody Huber and Mark Messier. Then Reed Larson and Bill Bennett got at it. Then in the third period, Wilf Payment scored the game-winning goal. It was his 30th of the season on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Mike Rogers. And then finally, Rick Aduano, with 3 seconds left to go in the game, scored in an empty net from Glenn Anderson and Mark Messier. 4-2 Hartford, the win. Another fight between Woody Huber and Jay Wells. Alright, and then we turn around, go back home, and we're going to play against the Capitals. Right, so Capitals are 24, 36, and 7, so that's fairly similar record to ours. We are 1-1 against the Caps this season. Let's make it 2-1. Gary Ennis is going to be in net for Washington. John Garrett in net for the Whalers. And of course, Hartford, give me a win, please. Thank you. A 4-1 victory. Ask nicely and you shall receive, they say. And that's what just happened. A 4-1 win for the Whalers at home here over Washington. We outshot Washington 35-27 in that one. Mark Messier was the first star of the game again. He had a goal and 2 assists. Chuck Lefley was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Mike Rogers was the third star with 2 assists. We had 7,513 people in the stands for that one. Mark Messier opened up the scoring in the first period. That was his 30th of the season from Chuck Lefley and Bob Stevenson. Then Wilf Payment scored from Mike Rogers and Mark Messier. 2-0 at that point. Washington would score before the end of the period. It was a 2-1 affair after 1. We had a fight between Rob Ramage and Mike Gartner and his mustache. Actually, pretty sure that Rob Ramage had a mustache too. So 2 mustached players face punching each other, receiving a little bit of relief from the hair under the nose. It was 2-1 Hartford heading into the second period. Paul Coffey scored for us. That was his 10th of the season from Mark Messier and Mike Rogers. 3-1 Hartford after 2. Some more fighting. Paul Coffey fought Gord Lane. And then in the third period, Chuck Lefley scored from Brent Sutter and Darren Veitch. 4-1 Hartford, and that was the final score. Rob Ramage did get hurt in this game, maybe from being at the receiving end of some face punching. So we'll have to see if he's out long term. He's day to day. So we're gonna just chill like this. He has a sore quad. Oh, and in the same game, Dennis Marok got hurt. He's day to day as well for 7 days. Suspension over for Bully and Chicago back in the lineup. Clark Gillies extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal against the Jets. That was also 14 straight games with a point for him. Greg Carroll is feeling better from his injury. Let's take a look at our situation here. Ramage needs to be out, but Doak can come in. So we're good. Right, 2 days off, and then we're going to be playing a quick 2-game road trip. That's going to start at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers. Alright, Kent Nilsson extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had an assist against the Minnesota North Stars. Clark Giddies extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal against the Oilers, and that was 15 straight with a point. Great night for Régent Hull. Peanut Hull in Montreal had a hat-trick against the Blues. Dynamic passing leads to a productive night for Reed Larson in Detroit. He had 6 assists against the Flyers. That's indeed a pretty good game. Memorable night for John Ogrodnik, still in Detroit. 3 goals and an assist in that same game. And Greg Carroll feeling better and better. One more day off, and then we're going to be in New York. Right, so Bob Lorimer's suspension ended with the Jets. Alright, Rangers are 39, 21, and 10. That's a pretty good record. We are 0-1-1 against the Rangers. We are winless against them this season. I would love a victory here, so go Rangers, go. Ha! Go Waiters, go. Fuck the Rangers. I guess I was thinking about other things. Alright, Gilles Gilbert in net for the Waiters. Don Edwards in net for the Rangers. Go Waiters. We lost 4-3 at Madison Square Garden. We were outshot 30-28. Selwood was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Paul Coffey was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Ron Duguay was the third star with a goal and an assist. Rick Aduano opened up the scoring in the first from Mark Messier and Darren Veitch. It was 1-0 Hartford after 1. Then in the second period, Rangers tied the game, and then we took the lead again. Wilf Payman scored on a power play from Gordy Roberts and Paul Coffey. It was 2-1 Hartford after 2. But we allowed 3 goals in the third period. It was 4-2 Rangers. Paul Coffey did give us a little bit of hope with a goal from Glenn Anderson and Rick Aduano with 6:37 left to go in the period, but we just couldn't tie the game. We lost 4-3. Jay Wells got into a fight with Brad Selwood, and that was that. Clark Gillies extends his point streak to 16 games. He had an assist against the Flyers. Bill Derlago has a memorable game. He had a hat-trick against the Buffalo Sabres. Thomas Graydon extends his goal streak to 5 games in that same game. He had a goal. And Jacques Lemaire is considering retirement at the end of the season. He's 35. Alright, and now we are in Boston to play the Bruins, another very good team. They are 38, 19, and 12. That's good for second in the conference. We are 1-1-1 against the Bruins this season. John Garrett is going to be in net for us. Paul Harrison is going to be in net for Boston. Let's go. Let's beat the Bruins here in Boston. Let's make it a statement game. A 4-4 tie in a very tough building. I guess I'll take the point. We outshot them 39-29, so we were robbed a little bit here. Bob Miller was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Mike Rogers, the second star with a goal, and Wayne Cashman was the third star with 2 assists. So Boston opened up the scoring in the first, then Gordy Roberts scored from Paul Coffey and Glenn Anderson tying the game, but then Boston scored again. It was 2-1 Boston after 1. There was a fight between Willie Plett and Jay Wells. Then in the second period, we scored 3 unanswered goals. Rick Aduano scored his 10th from Mark Messier and Chuck Lefley. Then Bob Stevenson from Jordy Douglas and Gordy Roberts. And then Mike Rogers from Gary Doak and Bill Bennett. 4-2 Hartford after 2. Then there was a fight between Graham Nicholson and Mark Messier. And then Al Seckert and Brian Baltimore got at it as well. In the third period, the Bruins scored 2 goals within the first minute of the third period to tie the game, and then it stayed that way, tied at 4. And we had a tie here at Boston Garden. Kent Nilsson extends his assist streak to 9 games. He had a goal and 3 assists against the Oilers. Right, we have 2 days off, and then we're going to be hosting the Montreal Canadiens. Right, Greg Carroll is completely recovered. And then Mike Bossy is day-to-day again. So Mike Bossy ailing here near the end of the season, right before the Islanders go into the playoffs. That's not good. Hopefully for them, he's going to recover. One more day off before Montreal's in town. Craig Ramsey has a memorable game for Buffalo. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Kings. Memorable game for John Van Boxmeer. In that same game, he had a hat-trick. Clark Gillies' point streak ended at 16 games. It was held scoreless against the Canadiens. And Rob Ramage is recovered, which is good, or he's close to be. Right, Montreal is in town yet again with a very good record, 43-18-10. They are first in the conference by a little margin there. We are 1-1 against Montreal. We did surprise them with a 7-2 win at home, and they are coming home, so hopefully we can kind of repeat that. Might be difficult, but I'm allowed to dream. Pat Regan in net for Montreal, Gilles Gilbert in net for the Oilers. Go Oilers, go! A 2-2 tie against a very good team. So I don't win often, but I tie it quite a bit lately, so I do get 1 point at a time. We were not in that one. We probably don't even deserve the tie. We were outshot 27-12 in that game. Montreal too strong for us. Rick Aduano was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Peter McNabb was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Glenn Anderson was the third star with an assist. 9,017 people in attendance for the game. No score in the first period. It was 0-0 heading into the second period, where Jordy Douglas scored from Rick Aduano and Gordy Roberts. Then Montreal scored twice. It was 2-1 Montreal after 2. And then in the third period, Darren Veitch scored on the power play from Glenn Anderson and Mark Messier. 2-2. We had a couple fights. Rob Ramage and Lowry Boschman, and then Wolf Payment against Brian Maxwell. Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 12 games. He had 2 goals against the Rangers. Uh-oh. Roberts involved in off-ice incident. Your staff has just informed you that Gordy Roberts has been involved in an off-ice incident. The fans and even some of his teammates are clearly displeased, and some rifts has appeared in the team. In particular, the following teammates have made their anger apparent. Dave Poulin. So only Dave Poulin is hurt by that. Oh god, so what is that? Am I gonna get one of those a year, or is it like random and I'm just like super unlucky? Because I had to deal with that with Blaine Stockton last season, and I ended up trading him because absolutely everybody was pissed at him. But now if only Dave Poulin is gonna be upset at him, I think I'm going to ride it out. I need Gordy Roberts. Now, the fans, the fans hate me already, so what is it gonna change? And plus, it has proven that even if I trade the player, that's the problem. I'm getting dinged for trading the good player away as well, so I get double ding when that crap happens. I don't get any of the fan love back for doing that. Alright, so we are going to ignore that. I think Rob Ramage close to returning. That'd be great. Oh dear God, what happened to my harmony? Oh, we are harmonious, so alright. We have 2 days off, and then the Rangers are going to be in town. Kent Nilsson extends his assist streak to 10 games. He had an assist against the Red Wings. Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 13 games. He had a goal against the Flyers, and Rob Ramage is fully recovered. Alright, we have 1 more day off before the Rangers are in town. We just played the Rangers at Madison Square Garden, and we lost 4-3. Hopefully we can win this one. Now the Rangers are 40, 22, and 10. We are still winless against them. Let's see if today is the day that it happens. Doug Sotart is going to be in net for the Rangers. Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for us. Go Hartford, go. 7-4 victory on home ice. Look at us making a statement here. We outshot the Rangers 39-28. Rick Aduano was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Mike Rogers was the second star with 2 assists as well. And Jay Wells was the third star with 2 goals. 8,832 people in attendance for this game. Rangers scored first in the first period, then we scored 3 goals. Chuck Lefley from Rick Aduano and Gary Doak. Then Jordy Douglas from Glenn Anderson and Greg Carroll. Then Jay Wells from Darren Veitch. 3-1 Hartford here after 1. And in the second period, Paul Coffey scored from Mike Rogers and Glenn Anderson, made it 4-1 Hartford after 2. Rangers did tie the game in the third period, coming in strong, but then we scored 3 goals. Bob Stevenson scored his 10th from Rick Aduano and Dave Poulin, then Jay Wells from Mike Rogers and Paul Coffey, and finally Gordy Roberts from Jordy Douglas and Greg Carroll. 7-4 the final score. It was a pretty good game there. Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 14 games. He had a goal against the Flames. Kent Nilsson extends his point streak to 12 games. He had an assist against the Bruins. And that was 11 straight games with an assist for him. And then the red light stays on for Doug Wilson in Chicago. He had a hat trick against the Flyers. Alright, and 2 games in 2 nights. Now we're going to play against the Maple Leafs. So Toronto in town with a 34, 27, and 12 record. That's good for 5th in the conference. We are 1-2 against the Leafs this season. Let's beat them again. Mike Palmetier is going to be in net for the Maple Leafs. John Garrett is going to be in net for us. And of course, go Oilers go. A 5-1 victory. Look at us. Look at us go. Alright, so Hartford outshot Toronto 36-29 in that one. Bill Bennett was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Paul Coffey was the second star with an assist, and Rob Ramage was the third star with an assist as well. 8,265 people in attendance for this game. Glenn Anderson opened up the scoring in the first from Jordy Douglas and Mike Rogers, and then Wilf Payment from Chuck Lefley and Brian Baltimore. 2-0 Hartford after 1. And in the second period, Brent Sutter scored his 5th short-handed from Jay Wells and Bill Bennett, made it 3-0, and then Toronto scored 3-1 Hartford after 2. Then in the third period, Bob Stevenson scored from Rick Aduano and Gordy Roberts, and then finally Bill Bennett from Rob Ramage and Paul Coffey. 5-1 the final score. Oh, Jay Wells is hurt. We're going to need to take a look at that. And look at that. The computer finally using, you know, Mark Missy at center. I like that. Alright, so we're going to need to take a look at Jay Wells here. 1 to 2 weeks. Alright, we're going to need to address that. Reijo Rustalainen extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had a goal and an assist against the Blackhawks. Kent Nilsson extends his point streak to 13 games. He had a goal and 2 assists against the Flyers. It was 12 straight games with an assist as well. And Steve Jensen extends the goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal and an assist against the Jets. And Jay Wells, he is hurt. We are going to put him on the injured reserve, and we're going to get our good old pal Mark Reno back up. Right, we have 2 days off, and then we're going to be hosting the Oilers. We have 3 games left here in March. Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 15 games. He had a goal and an assist against the Oilers. John Ogrodnik lights the lamp. He had a hat-trick against the Colorado Rockies. Steve Jensen extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal against Minnesota. Bill Barber has a strong game for the Flyers. He had a goal and 4 assists against the Washington Capitals. And Reijo Ristolainen extends his assist streak to 9 games with a goal and an assist against the Blues. Alright, Edmonton is in town. They are 39, 23, and 12. We are 1-1-1 against Edmonton this season. Eddie Mio is going to be in net for Edmonton. Gilles Gilbert in net for Hartford. Go, Whalers, go. It's going to be a tough one. Oh, we won 7-3. Look at us. We outshot Edmonton 30-20. Brian Baltimore, the first star of the game with 2 assists. Chuck Lefley with the second star, a goal and an assist. And Paul Coffey was a third star. He had 3 assists. 7,076 people in attendance for the game. Right, so Edmonton opened up the scoring in the first, then Jordy Douglas scored from Rick Aduono and Glenn Anderson, then Edmonton scored again. It was 2-1 Edmonton at that point, but we scored 2 more goals. Jordy Douglas again from Rick Aduono and Glenn Anderson, then Bob Stevenson from Paul Coffey and Darren Veitch, 3-2 Hartford after 1. We scored 3 times in the second period. Wolf Payment scored from Mike Rogers and Paul Coffey. Then Wolf Payment again is 35th of the season from Chuck Lefley and Brian Baltimore. Then Chuck Lefley scored his 15th from Paul Coffey and Brian Baltimore, 6-2 Hartford after 2. We had a fight between Rob Ramage and Dave Semenko. Then in the third period, Wayne Gretzky scored. Kind of have to say it when it's Wayne. So, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Right, so Gretzky scored. It was 6-3 Hartford, but we scored again. Mark Renault scored from Mark Missy and Brent Sutter. 7-3 the final score. Another fight between Rob Ramage and Dave Semenko. Nice 7-3 victory. Rob Ramage took a couple for the team here. Dave Semenko was not an easy customer. I guess Rob Ramage was not an easy customer as well, but Kent Nilsson's point streak ended at 13 games, was held scoreless against the Quebec Nordiques, which means that his assist streak is also done for. We have a day off, and then we're going to be in Washington to play the Capitals. Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 16 games. He had an assist against Toronto. Now we are in Washington. They are 24, 42, and 9. We are 2-1 against Washington this season. Let's make it 3-1. We're kind of on a roll right now. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Gary Ennis in net for Washington. Go Hartford, go. A 7-3 win on the road there. We feel unstoppable. We outshot Washington 32-29. Paul Coffey was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and 3 assists. Mike Rogers was the second star with 3 assists. And Wolf Payment was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. Rob Ramage opened up the scoring in the first. That was a power play goal from Mark Messier and Mike Rogers. 1-0 Hartford after 1. Then in the second period, Wolf Payment scored from Mike Rogers and Paul Coffey. Then Washington scored, made it 2-1, but we scored again. Paul Coffey from Wolf Payment and Darren Veitch. 3-1 Hartford after 2. There was a fight between Yvon Labre and Mark Messier. Then in the third period, Brian Baltimore scored from Wolf Payment and Bill Bennett. Then Greg Carroll from Bob Stevenson and Paul Coffey made it 5-1. Washington scored to make it 5-2. We scored again. That was Paul Coffey unassisted. 6-2 the score. Washington scored again, made it 6-3, and then we scored 1 more goal. Mark Messier from Mike Rogers and Paul Coffey. And that was the final score, 7-3 for Hartford. Mark Messier converts to left wing. Oh my god, it's done. Mark Messier is now a left winger. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about Mark Messier being a winger. I mean, he's a big winger, but I don't know how I feel about that, because I really thought that I was solidifying my center line, and that's not exactly what has happened. It means that I need to look at another center somewhere, maybe. Alright, so Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 17 games, 2 goals against the Blackhawks. Strong night for Grant Mulvey, he had a hat-trick in that same game. Ryo Ristolainen's assist streak ended at 9 games, he was held scoreless against Pittsburgh. Big game for Pierre Larouche in Buffalo, he had a hat-trick, 3 goals against the St. Louis Blues. Alright, now we have the last game of March, which is at home against the Philadelphia Flyers. Philadelphia's 41-24 and 11. We are 0-2-1 against the Flyers this season. We have not beaten them, but we are on a little bit of a roll right now. So let's see if we can beat them. Pete Peters is going to be in net for Philadelphia. Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for us. Go Whalers go. A 6-0 win, look at us. We outshot Philadelphia 30-26. Gilles Gilbert was the first star of the game. He had a shutout, 26 saves. Rob Ramage was the second star with a goal and 2 assists, and Paul Coffey was the third star with 2 goals and an assist. 8,668 people left the rink overjoyed with this shutout. Nobody scored in the first period, and we scored 5 of our goals in the second. Rob Ramage scored his 15th of the season on the power play from Paul Coffey and Wolf Payment, then Greg Carroll from Rob Ramage and Bob Stevenson. Mark Renault scored from Wolf Payment and Mike Rogers, then Paul Coffey scored his 15th from Jordy Douglas and Rick Aduano, and then Mark Messier from Wolf Payment and Rob Ramage. 5-0 the score after 2. Then in the third period, Paul Coffey scored again from Chuck Lefley and Mike Rogers. That was a 6-0 trouncing of the Flyers to end the month. So we are a little bit on the roll now. That's kind of interesting. Big game for Bill Derlago. He had 3 goals against the North Stars. Now we have a couple days off before we play on April 1st. Rick Middleton extends his point streak to 18 games. He had 2 goals against the Buffalo Sabres. I don't really care about that. Jay Wells is feeling better. And we have 1 more day off. Right, the best jerseys sells for the Whalers in March were Wolf Payment, John Garrett, Mark Messier, Gordy Roberts, and Darren Veitch. Development report that I do want to see. Right, so this guy, Randy Cunninworth, getting brave repassing and positioning. That's good. Alright, Craig Laughlin getting some professionalism. He needs to get like stuff in other areas as well. Ray Neufeld, professionalism. Jean Savard, team player. Glenn Anderson, shooting range. That's good. Paul Coffey got better at passing. Mark Messier, passing and stick checking. Dave Poulin, team player, shooting accuracy and positioning. Brent Sutter, strength and puck handling. So yeah, those guys that I picked up are starting to get better now. Darren Veitch, leadership getting open, that's good. Jay Wells, some bravery. Mike Stodders, some balance. Maybe he's going to play one day. John Newberry, balance and face-off. And all of those guys are getting worse. Oh, my goaltending is still going down the drain. Not good. Oh, Gart Bynack went and played in Italy. Look at him. Hey, the top-selling jerseys in the NHL. Rick McLeish is first in Philadelphia. Good job. Oh, look at that. Oh, I guess we had a really good month, right? We started kind of like, oh, losing one, tying one, and everything, and then we had like, what's 5 or 6 straight wins to end the month. Both players of the month are from our team, Paul Coffey and Gilles Gilbert. Now, Paul Coffey, with his effort, is now more than a point per game with us. I mean, he is for the season as well, but with us, he is over a point per game since we acquired him. The Paul Coffey era in Hartford seems to now have been enacted. I expect a lot of things from Paul. Paul, do not disappoint me like Markow did, please. Alright, so that concludes the month of March. We climbed up one spot in the conference. We are now 7th, only 2 points back on the Nordiques, and the Nordiques is the next team that we're facing, and we are on a roll, so who knows what's going to happen with that, but that's pretty interesting. So, yeah. A very good end to the month there. Alright, so Hartford. Alright, so the worst team in the league is back to being the Kings. So, a little rough over there. And then after that, it's the Jets. And then after that, it's the Red Wings. Alright, let's take a look at our stats over here. Alright, so Wilf Payment is slowly getting close to 100-point season. He only has 3 games left and he's 9 points short, so I don't think he's going to make it. We don't know, maybe. But he would have to have one heck of an end to the season. 91 points in 77 games for Wilf Payment, that's what I got him for. He's bringing it all. Then 77 points in 73 games for Mark Messier. Mike Rogers is 1 point per game, 70 in 70. Paul Coffey, 60 points in 57 games overall. Jordy Douglas, 53 points, and it starts to dwindle down from there. I feel that we have more offense than we did last year. Of course, last year we finished the year with, 51-year-old Gordie Howe on the first line. So I feel like we're doing a little bit better this year, and it should be going only in getting better and better. Now for the entire league, Mike Bussey, 62 goals. He did have some injury troubles during the month, so Wayne Gretzky's catching up to him. Kent Nilsson is the best passer. He's even better than Gretzky in that regard with 81 assists. The best scorer is Gretzky, 138 points. Nilsson has 129. Bussey, 124. Cicerelli, 111. So, yeah. Oh, and now we are not first for short-handed goals anymore. Bill Barber has 4, and Bill Bennett is still at 3. Alright, folks, we're going to go ahead and save the game. You know what that means. That means that I'm about to stop because I do have to go and get dinner ready. It was a pleasure to be here and present you the alternate renaissance of the Hartford Whalers. Hopefully it brings glory to the Connecticut city, but for now it's going to be a see ya laters, folks. So thank you for tuning in, and if you're catching this on YouTube and you like the video, you know what to do. Until next time, ARG out, peace out.